How do's? Welcome back to the channel. You find me on a very cold Sunday morning. Today is Sunday the 27th of October. Pay no attention to the Suzuki's clocks. Now, I haven't adjusted the time. I always keep my bikes in summertime. That's the best time of the year to ride. And also the ambient air temperature, I think on the Suzuki at the moment is reading about 10 degrees Celsius, but it's actually about 5. I checked on my phone before I left home. Yeah, so this morning myself and my mate Dave's just taking me for the last run of the year. We're just going to do a run through the Peak District. Just excuse any noise. I have got my visor open and cracked. I am wearing my dark visor. I've got my clear visor. I always carry my clear visor with me. But I've got the dark visor on, which doesn't have a pin lock in, so I have to keep it open just to crack. Yeah, so today is going to be one of Dave's magical mystery tours. Let's see where he takes us. Oh, we're heading into a load of fog now. I didn't expect this. I'm not sure how this will turn out in filming. I doubt it's going to be very clear with all this fog. And caught in traffic. Hopefully Dave now is going to turn off relatively soon. I know one of his little favourite spots to go is when the road turns to the right, we take a zip up a little country lane up to the left. So, oh, that's odd. That was the second traffic camera within just 50 meters, as if one isn't enough. Yeah. Is this where Dave is going? I don't know. Yeah, usually we zip up there, but probably because the trucks are going up there, he's decided to go another way. Right, so what can I tell you? Well, just a recent update. I did upload a video scheduled for this morning. Did a recent trip over to Jerez in Spain to go and watch the World Superbike racing. I did that with my other mate Dave from Prescott. And this is Dave from Poynton. Yeah, so it was a good weekend. Unfortunately, I was a bit ill before I left. You know, it was that bad. I've been ill for over 2 weeks, and honestly, I thought it was COVID. I've done the COVID tests, everything else, and the COVID tests have come back negative. So fortunately, it wasn't COVID, but I don't know what it was, and yeah, it really got a grip of me. It's been about 2 weeks, and in all honesty, I probably shouldn't have gone on holiday to Spain. I was that ill. Oh, look at all this, all gloomy, riding through the fog. Let's hope the fog lifts. Yes, also while we were in Jerez, we stayed in Jerez de la Frontera, and they had a carnival there. Well, not, I shouldn't say carnival, it was a procession. It was a religious procession. It was something about Reina de Maria, something like that. It's about the Virgin Mary. I think it's when the religious people declared that she was a virgin, and that was to celebrate the decision. I was told that. So loosely translated, I think that's what it means. So we'll just have to take their words for it. Great procession. I filmed that as well, so you'll see that this morning. Yeah, just looking at the time now, it's probably 9 o'clock now in the UK. So that video will be live on YouTube as we speak. So you'll see the procession there. You'll also see some of the racing. I did a really good job of filming the Women's World Championship racing. But the men's, it was more difficult there, and there were a lot more people trying to watch that, so it was difficult to dart from one side of the building to the other. So basically I just stood in one place, filmed as much as I could, and then got the finish, and then also just the podium. I did all of that. Also took a few shots of filmed a bit in, stopped in Chipiona. It was a nice little seaside village, Chipiona. And yeah, on the way back home on the Monday, we stopped. I can't remember where we stopped the first time. We stopped at a little port, Mohr. We had a bite to eat, but then we left there shortly after and continued on to Marbella. First time I've been to Marbella. I had a walk along the beach. Unfortunately, it wasn't really my scene. Maybe I'm too much of a snob. No. Maybe I was expecting too much of Mallorca. You know, when I go to Mallorca, I often go to Palma Nova, and to me, Palma Nova is far more relaxed than what Marbella was. I think Marbella, I could probably liken that more to Magaluf. That's how it seemed to me. Anyway. So yeah, what can I tell you? Today, being Sunday the 27th of October, I really hope my camera lens isn't being covered with all this moisture like my visor is. I'm struggling a bit with the visor here. Outside. Yeah, because even when I open it, it's still... There it is. I'm still stuck behind this truck. Right, so I'll give you an update of the UK and where we're at. We're just a few days before the budget is announced. The budget for the country, for the UK, will be announced on the 30th of October. And already there's been some rumours circulating. Well, not actually rumours, it's things that the party in charge have mentioned, the Labour government. You know, there's been this this hoo-ha where they're talking about not raising taxes for the working people, but then they cannot define who the working people are. It's an embarrassment, to be honest. For me personally, my situation, although they say, yeah, we're not raising taxes on working people, however, we are increasing the rates on employers' NI. Unfortunately, with my type of work, I am paying the employer's NI because, remember, all that outside IR35 work has been shut down by the government. So now I am employed inside IR35 under an umbrella company, and unfortunately I have to pay their employer's NI. It's just how it's set up. Bit unfair, but hey, it's one of those things, and I've just got to swallow it. So yeah, so that's their first lie already, where they've said that we won't increase the taxes on working people. Well, already I've felt it. They've increased my tax. I'm a working person. I go out to work. Another thing they've said as well is how they define working people is that working people don't own any assets, they don't own property, and they don't have shares in companies. Now when you think about it, assets, an asset could be something like a vehicle, because here in the UK, if you buy a vehicle, run it for a while, the price increases or whatever due to inflation, and you go and sell it and make a profit, you've got to pay tax on that. So yeah, that's an asset. I'll listen to the church bells ringing. But then also property. You know, most people in the UK that I know tend to try and own their property. There's a saying in England, what do they say? A person's home is their castle here in the UK. So it's unlike in Europe, where a lot of Europeans tend to rent. Here in the UK, people tend to own their homes. So again, if Labour says, people with property, well, that's a large proportion of the population, surely. And then finally, shares. Anybody who owns shares isn't a working person. How do they get by that? If you think about pensions, any sane person in the UK is paying into a pension, even now by law. I can't remember when that law was brought in, if it was around about 2015 or 2016, where everybody, when you start working for a company, you have to pay into a pension. You have to specifically opt out to not pay into that pension. So everybody pays into a pension, and what do pensions invest in? Well, you guessed it, shares and bonds. Pensions invest in shares in companies or funds which invest in shares of individual companies. So does that mean anybody who's paying into a pension is classed as a non-working person? Yeah, just just beggars belief. The mind boggles. One thing for me, I am a landlord. I also work. I pay a huge amount of tax because of the properties. I became an accidental landlord. It's just one of those things. And at the time when I first became an accidental landlord, I also decided, because I immigrated to the UK. I was about 28 years old when I arrived in the UK, and I think it was my mid-30s before I actually bought my first property, way back in 2010. I bought the first property, but then I moved in with a girlfriend, and then that property I had, I didn't know what to do with it, so I just rented it out to one of her mates. That's how it started. I then decided, well, because I'm that old and I don't have a pension, what's the best way forward for a pension? So I thought, okay, well, let me buy some more property. I'll invest in properties, and at least that's a long-term goal for me. I'm taking responsibility for my future. I'm not relying on the state. I'll get myself some property. So I got myself a second property, and over the years, I've built up a small portfolio of properties. It's not massive. I'm not one of these landlords that have got like 20, 30 properties, nothing like that. Oh, no. It's just a small number, a handful of properties. But now this current government, they are now saying anybody who's got properties is classed as non-working. I don't know about anybody, but if you've ever been to a property after a tenant has moved out, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's loads of cleaning. Are Labour alluding to the fact that cleaners aren't workers? You've also got to remove loads of rubble that tenants might leave behind. So does that mean that anybody that's in refuse collection isn't a worker as defined by Labour? You also need to try and make any repairs. Let's just say kitchen cabinets. So anybody that installs kitchens, are they classed as non-worker? Do you see how ridiculous it actually gets? Their argument just doesn't hold any water. It's very ridiculous. I know why they're coming down on landlords, because private landlords in the UK are an easy target. Everybody hates landlords because apparently landlords are very greedy. So yeah, let's build a hate on landlords. However, what people aren't realizing in the background, while all the private landlords are leaving the sector, I am aware, I've even got some friends that are selling up. They're basically selling their least profitable properties. But while all these private landlords are selling up, the large corporations are stepping in and hoovering up all these properties. So all these people that are paying for the blood of private landlords and Labour, you know exactly what's going to happen in the future. When you have one large body that controls the prices of everything, how does that turn out? You have a look at the anti-competition laws against large companies like Apple, etc., and Microsoft. You have a look now where European governments are trying to break them up. Even Google, I think, was involved recently. Anti-competition. They just get too large for their own good. Now, in the UK, could you imagine if all the properties were controlled by maybe 3 entities. I know Lloyd's, TSB, they've been buying up loads of properties. I'm also aware of John Lewis, and I can't remember the third group. I think it's a bank of sorts as well, Nationwide, that's it. Those 3 large corporations here in the UK have been buying up properties. I can see what's happening, and yeah, if people think the private landlord is greedy, well, they've got another thing coming when these large corporations got their hooks into them. But anyway, so yeah, that's property, one of my gripes. And the problem I have at the moment is I definitely pay too much tax, but it's only because I'm working and I have the properties. You know, I could have arranged it another way. I could either, you know, not work and just rely on the properties. My tax would reduce substantially. But the way that it's all set up is with the help of an accountant. I never just try and do these things on a whim. And unfortunately, when we set these up, you know, slowly but surely the laws have changed. And in hindsight, I probably should have put all these properties into a limited company. Anyway, let bygones be bygones. We are where we are, and we'll just have to deal with it as these issues arise, as they are at the moment. Alright, so that's the current political situation out of the way. There's a lot of unhappy people here in the UK. I have got friends that have already left the UK because of what's been happening. Again, I've got other people, you know, colleagues at work telling me, sell the properties, do this, do that, blah blah blah, panic, panic, panic. But you know, you can't, I feel I can't really make a decision on these properties until we know exactly what's been revealed in that budget. So yeah, come 30th of October we'll have a better understanding. No point to panic about it now. No point panicking about it now, because it's all just speculation. We'll wait until the 30th of October to find out what our destiny is. I do hear from a lot of people, a lot of South African expats as well. They are considering actually returning back to South Africa. Now, I know the situation there isn't great, but I think South Africa couldn't get any worse than what it currently is. You know, they've been through all this nonsense for the last 3 decades. You know, you had these systems in place to try and right the wrongs of the old apartheid regime, but it's been 3 decades and they're still no further along. Unfortunately, with these systems that they have in place, it just leads to corruption and nepotism, as people have seen. And you know, the tide seems to be turning in South Africa. The ruling party, which is originally a communist party, the African National Congress, they have lost a lot of support in recent years because all the services, etc., have just gone to rubbish. And you know what's funny is I see exactly the same thing happening here in the UK. You know, and it's been happening slowly over the last few years. You don't really realise it, but I think the last 5 years it's really come to light. I think you know, with the lockdowns and that's shone a light on it, and now you can see it clear as day. And, you know what I mean by services. You need only take a drive around your local neighbourhood. Have a look at the state of the roads. There's one of the services there. They just don't repair roads anymore. They just leave potholes for ages. Yeah, the roads are in a really bad state. I know I can't blame the current government for that, but it's just been this slow decline. The last, well, I've been here in the UK for more than 20 years, so the decline probably has been within the last 20-30 years. Anyway, don't really know where Dave's going. Normally he zips off to Longmore, but I saw he just went straight past Longmore, so I'm not quite sure what loop he's going on. We'll have a look, see. Hopefully he gets off his main road. Don't quite enjoy riding on the main road, but I think he's probably riding on these main roads because of all the moisture. You can see how wet these roads are. yesterday round about this time in the morning the roads were drying out already, so it's a bit disappointing to see how wet the roads are. Clouds, yeah, there was no cloud cover last night. It was really bitterly cold last night. I actually turned the heating up last night, believe it or not. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I woke up this morning, and although it was already about 8:30 in the morning, it was still about 5 degrees Celsius because it was a clear, cold, crisp night. Right, I'm going to switch off this video. I imagine I've got a load of muck on the lens of this camera, and I will catch you in a bit. Hopefully Dave pulls in for a nice bun stop, tea and bun stop. Get a nice breakfast and just warm ourselves up. It's quite cold still. And yeah, I'll catch you in a bit.